episode of Video Game Logic. Today's show was recorded on January the 29th, 2019. I'm your host, Gaming Psychologist, and with me, as always, an escaped strongman,
Caffeine Rage.
On today's show, we will be discussing the games that we played last week. Metro Exodus is now an Epic Store exclusive. EA backs down over loot boxes in Belgium. Farming Simulator League is a real esports venture with a $250,000 prize pool. The Westworld game Bethesda sued for ripping off Fallout Shelter is now shutting down. The United States spent over $43 billion on video games last year. Facebook knowingly duped game-playing kids and their parents out of money. We'll have our weekly community corner with something sent in by Jim, and our weekly Discovery Queue. Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Hello, Rage.
Hello.
I almost said 2018. I was this close, but I didn't. And yes, this close. You can see my fingers clearly on this audio recording.
Yeah, visual cues are just so important for an audio podcast.
Extremely. Just the most important. We didn't talk about it pre-show, but I will say right off the top, we need to remember to say, we put together a thing and put it in Discord, discussing our new plans going forward for the year with our community refocus.
Yeah, and if you're not in our Discord, you can find a link on our website, vglpodcast.podbean.com, which has the RSS feed and our media links as well. Just to get that out there.
It has been pinned as one of the only pinned posts to the general chat and also in the feedback section. You can go read through the whole thing if you want. A quick rundown is that we're refocusing on our community this year. We're going to be doing community nights every Monday going forward. So the first Monday we're going to be doing one is the 4th, February the 4th. There will be an announcement either on Twitter or on Discord or maybe both if for some reason we have to cancel. And we will announce what we're going to do. We'll try to on the episode the week before. And if that doesn't happen, it will definitely be on Discord or on Twitter. So the best place to find out all this stuff is on Discord or by following us on Twitter at VGL Podcast. So just get that out of the way right off the top before I forget. It just popped into my head while we were sitting here. Like, oh yeah, I probably should just make mention of that.
Yeah. So what are we going to do?
I was thinking that we could go back to an old favorite, something we used to play all the time, which is Rocket League.
All right. I guess that means I need to install that and maybe see if I'm actually competent still. Oh, what am I saying still?
I also need to reinstall Rocket League. I'm probably still okay at it.
Oh, I'm still subscribed to the Rocket League subreddit, and looking at some of the plays on there, it's just like, why don't I even bother thinking about this game?
Oh yeah, no, I'm not that good. I never have been that good, but I was pretty okay at it. So I'm probably just okay at it now.
Yeah, but also these people are the ones that have been playing it nonstop since it launched, right?
Yeah, for several years now. But yeah. So speaking of some video games, Rage, what game did you play this week?
Yeah, I've been doing a focus, and I didn't even copy it over into the show notes, so even you don't know.
Oh, hey, you didn't. You're right, you didn't.
But yeah, I've been focusing on trying to get some time with Vampire the Masquerade, and boy, I think I'm going to be devices on that one. And also just clean up the apartment because I had the entire place just a complete mess, and it's still a complete mess, but it's less so now. So I grabbed one of my Twitch games and decided to play through it a little bit. I'm going to be linking to the Steam thing because you can't buy games on Twitch anymore. Not that I would have linked there anyway. But I played through about a quarter of the Framed Collection, which is an interesting game. It's essentially, I would call it a pseudo-puzzle game because there's, to me, for my definition of a puzzle game is something that you could sit down and work out logically. I think that's a fair definition, right?
Yeah, I think so.
In this,
makes sense.
There's a little bit too much just pure luck or pure, guesstimate about what's going to happen for me to really call it a true puzzle game. But it's an interesting experiment. Framed is essentially a long chase sequence between two spies trying to, well, at least the first one, because what this is a collection of mobile games. I'm pretty sure these are mobiles, at least. It's a team of spies trying to run away from the police while keeping a hold of a briefcase. No idea what's in the briefcase. It's probably like Pulp Fiction. They open it and it glows, and the movie ends, or what the hell, right? But how this game is set up is it's like a comic strip where you have the opening and closing boxes, and you have to get to the ending. And each frame is a different sequence. So a good example of this is early on in the game, the male spy jumps out of the window and he uses the briefcase to zip line down an electric line, all right?
Okay.
A utility line. Well, in the default layout, you have him diving out the window and then him, the view of the rooftop where he would land. And there's two frames in between that you could swap around. In the default layout, he gets shot as he goes down and his body disturbs a pigeon that's sitting on the line. Well, because you have the power of the player character, you're able to swap those two frames. So he first encounters the pigeon that gets spooked and flies off and startles the gunman because it decides to dive bomb the guy with the gun for some reason. And he's able to escape. And that's how the entire game kind of plays out, where you have to figure out the proper interaction. Some of them are more obvious than others. Like towards the end of the first act, you're diving out the window and you have to essentially get a truck in the proper position to be able to land in the back of it. And there's only a couple frames to really have to toy around with. But other sequences, there's up to 9 different frames to mess around with. And sometimes it can be a little bit confusing on what actions will lead to what. For example, there was a prolonged chase sequence where each frame had you essentially going around a corner. And if you encounter the police face to face, you just give up. In order to defeat a police officer, you essentially have to sneak up behind them, a sort of a pseudo stealth element. And it was a little tough to be able to figure out exactly what frames would have the guy coming in at the proper angle to be able to jump the policeman, just because of the way the frames were drawn. Overall, though, the game has, I'm pretty sure this is rotoscoping, where it's some very fluid and well-done animations that doesn't feel like it's hand-drawn. But it's not. It doesn't feel like it's just a computer generated either. It has that kind of little bit of roughness to it, that rotoscoping typically has. And also, there's the little touches like the trench coat that the spy wears, for example, realistically flutters in the animations, and animators wouldn't spend that much time on it. And there's no dialogue in the game, and it's all the sound effects are portrayed through the music, which is this really sort of pseudo cheesy noir jazz, which I absolutely love. So every time there's a gunshot, instead of having a gun sound, it's a snare drum being hit, or a cymbal being hit. A guy getting bashed over the head with the briefcase, that would be like another cymbal hit, that sort of thing. It's punctuated in the musical track itself, and it's done really well. That said, I do have some problems with the game. For one, sometimes it's a little bit obtuse on trying to figure out exactly what the actions it wants you to do are, because it's not exactly intuitive. For example, a sequence fairly early in the game. You're trying to escape down a fire escape. imagine that, escaping down an escape. And there's this jump that just looks impossible, and no matter what angle you try to take it from, you just never make it, and the railing collapses under you, or the floor collapses under you. As a matter of fact, the sequence is actually in one of the screenshots. Or part of it, I should say. In order to get by it, you actually have to be able to get an axe from a different scene that isn't highlighted as an interactable object. So you have to try to figure out the way to be able to sneak up on those policemen, knock the guy out, and then take your time to grab the axe when, honestly, I wouldn't have thought that would have been a thing otherwise,
Yeah.
So there's just, that's why it's tough for me to really call this a puzzle game, because of that sort of, guessing element. And also later on, about a third of the way through the first game, they introduce rotations where frames can be rotated to different orientations. And for some things, it may just be redirecting what direction you go in, or make it so that, a grate on the ground level will be above you. So maybe a guy could drop something from the grate to knock out a police officer, that sort of thing. But later on, they start introducing bigger frames as well that have essentially an anchor point on them that they rotate around. And as you rotate these, it also changes their position in the sequence. So if it's laying down as a landscape, it may be like the fourth or fifth cell in the sequence, or the fourth or fifth frame in the sequence. But if it's vertical, it may be the second. And there's no indication on what order the frames go in. And that's also why I hesitate calling it a puzzle game right out the bat, because there's a lot of trying to figure out, okay, I just moved all the frames around. What's the sequence in this? Because it doesn't really show me. There's no indicator. There's no order of operations going on, which I found incredibly frustrating, especially when some of the longer frames will also, because it displaces the other frames as it rotates, kind of shovels everything around, and the game doesn't do a great job of maintaining the order if you're grabbing a frame from the very early sequence and moving it later on. Like, if I'm grabbing the second or third frame in the sequence and I'm moving it to like the 8th or 9th position in a long sequence, as I'm dragging through the order down a couple rows, it may displace a couple other frames. And I may not notice it until it's too late, and I won't catch it until I'm actually playing through the sequence and I see, oh crap, those two got swapped. And there is a fast forward function on going through the sequence, but it's only like a 2x speed. It's not, okay, this frame looks good, so I could just click, and skip to, where I'm uncertain about. It's just wading through the entire thing, and some of the sequences are actually fairly long. I mean, they're beautifully animated, but they're just annoyingly long to go through, which is also a downside. But I do like that it's a game that does something different. I've seen a few games that handle this comic book style and do different things with it. There's, of course, Comic Zone way back in the day. That was a beat-em-up platformer. I used the styling, but it didn't really do a lot with changing around order of operations or with what the game world actually is. There was one I've been seeing tech demos of, and I'm blanking what the name of it is, that you can move the panels around and pretty freely to be able to change the order of things. That's sort of like this, but not quite like this. So, a fairly unique game that I would say it's worth at least a look.
Yeah, it does look interesting. I had never, seen this game before.
Yeah, you should have it on Twitch.
Okay. Then I guess I just got it and I didn't notice, which is good, because I had just went and added it to my Steam wishlist, but if I've got it on Twitch...
Yeah, it was a Twitch game like 2 or 3 months ago now. Yeah, I'm not sure. Love Shack Entertainment, they've only done this. Unless, actually, let me see if they've done any other games, because it's always interesting to see what else they come up with. Looks like it's
while
just
you're looking
this.
at that. Gotcha. Yeah, it looks interesting. It's a neat idea I've never seen anywhere before. So even if it is kind of clunky, I would probably give it a little bit of forgiveness, just because I've never seen something like it.
Pretty damn clunky at times, especially in more crowded frames. And some of the frames, this came out. Yeah, this was a mobile title. So yeah, that explains some of the clunkiness as well. Some of the frames, just because they can change the sequence so much, it's tough for me to call it a puzzle game because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's not exactly intuitive on the order of things. Like, for example, this was towards the end of my playtime. I only played like an hour and a half of it. It's a pretty short game. That's the other thing. So I'm not sure if it's really worth the $10 price tag, unless the later portions of the first game and getting into the second game start to get a lot more complex and more fulfilling. But because mobile title, I really doubt that. The panels started to get to the point where it was really tough to be able to tell order of operation until it actually went through the sequence once. For example, it would do almost go down 2 panels, then it would skip over to the long one. In one configuration, but if you swap the long one down to a landscape again, it would go from number 2 to like number 7. So you could see, why it's a little bit jarring on that. All they needed to do was have numbers,
Yeah, that makes sense. The needing of numbers, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Especially with how the panels rotate and can really swap around the order. But yeah, not sure if I agree on the $10 price tag. I would say it's definitely worth checking out on sale if you're interested in something a little bit different.
Yeah, and I'll have to go check it out because, I've got it on Twitch. So.
Oh, you do have it?
Cool. Yeah.
Okay. I know you wasn't sure, but you could see why. You can see some of what I was talking about, especially like the bird sequence. It's very early on, but take a look at that screenshot. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I was browsing through them while you were talking.
That's like the perfect example of just how the game changes based on just the order of the of a couple frames. It'll be interesting to see if they actually do a complete story, but honestly, I think it's just a MacGuffin to explain away a chase sequence. And according to this, it took 3 hours to get through the entire thing. So yeah, that seems about right. I was at an hour, and I was about a third. I was over halfway through the first one. So yeah, that seems about right. Anyway,
Fancy.
you were saying?
Yeah. So you ready to swap to me?
Yeah. Let's go for it.
Sweet.
Well, let's derail this thing.
So I've got 2 games. The first is a game called Derail Valley. This is a train simulator game, originally designed for VR. It's got a non-VR mode, but I could see it working much better in VR. It can be a bit clunky at times, and there are a few things that are really frustrating that the features don't exist in the non-VR version of the game, but I'll get to that in a minute. What it is I think someone took the concept of Euro or American Truck Simulator. It was like, hey, what if I apply this to trains? So what it is that you... it's a train driving simulator game. There's only 2 different trains in the game right now. One of them is a diesel train, and the other one is a steam engine. And the goal is like you are a train engineer. You have to pass the tutorial to get your initial train license, and then you can take, or once you do enough jobs and get far enough, you can get.
So you're saying that you start off and you're in training?
Yes, yes, I am. But then once you have played enough, you get the license, or completed enough jobs, you can get the license for the Steam engine and more advanced things. And apparently there's secret vehicles that I haven't found yet, and different extras that you unlock as you go through, because you can deliver larger trains and take on bigger jobs and stuff like that. But there's this open world map with a bunch of different rail yards in it and different classifications of freight and things. And you go to a place, you go through and look at the different jobs that there are. And then you just pick a job that you want to do, accept it, and then complete the job. And there are things like, deliveries, delivering cargo, loading and unloading trains in the yard, rearranging things, like in a shunting yard. And you do it all from this first person view. You have to get in and out of the train. You can walk around, go into the station, interact with things, accept the jobs. You also can just drive around if you want to. There's really no limit as to where you can go. I mean, the trains have to stay on the tracks, but since you can get out of the train and walk around, you can go to the city area or any of the stations, and you can walk around and explore. Because it's intended to be a VR title, you can interact with most things. This involves picking them up and manipulating them, seeing if they do anything cool, or throwing them, or whatever sort of silly stuff like that. But it's, from that perspective, it shows a lot of promise. I mean, it definitely needs some refinement, some polish. Handling of the jobs could go a lot easier. For example, if you want to check on your progress on a job, you have to take the job that you've accepted, walk up to this thing called the job validator, put the job in there, and then it spits out a thing and tells you what your progress is. You don't really need to do that, I think, once you kind of figure out what you're doing. But the first couple of times I tried to do a job, I was like, wait, what? Where am I doing? Because it's like, I'll go to do a thing, and it's like, the train is not parked properly. I'm like, well, did I miss a step? And I had. But, flipping through the pages on what the job tells you to do is a little bit weird at first. Again, that goes to the quirks of this being designed primarily as a VR title, and then it being changed later to where you could play it without a VR headset. So there is a little bit of clunkiness to the controls and things, and I'm sort of learning my way to work around it, learning a few little shortcuts and tricks for how to deal things. And then also there's just some experience that comes with, like, okay, I need to, like, here's how I read this thing, or here's, I need to make sure it's in this position to load or unload. I've learned what sort of the ranges are on that stuff is, and it gives you some acceptable level of tolerance, but some things are a little more precise than others, and I think it would be easier to handle it in VR as opposed to out of VR. But some of the things that you can't do if you don't have a VR headset is you can't teleport. So this is extremely early access. Like, this is like alpha stage, or like maybe like their first beta.
Or a Bethesda full release.
Yeah. So I got this on Keymailer. I didn't pay for it. And it's definitely not worth $20 in this state right now. It's more of like a proof of concept than a game. So if you don't have the VR headset, you can't teleport, which is a problem because you can't actually save. The game auto saves whenever you quit, but every time you reopen the game, it just dumps you out wherever you last were, and all of the pieces reset. So all the trains go back to where they started. So if you quit and you're not near a station where you can grab a train, then you have to walk all the way to the nearest station and hope that there's a train there, and that it's a train that you have a license to drive. If you have a VR headset, you can just teleport wherever you want to go on the map at any point in time.
Seems like a bit of an oversight.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest complaints for non-VR people is like, hey, if this just dumps me out in the middle of nowhere, I've got to spend 20 minutes walking back to a station, because the map is huge, because they're trains, right? So, in order for it to really feel like you've got area to explore, it's got to be a really big map. So, whenever my kid and I, we played it some this afternoon, I showed it to him, and he, of course, thought it was amazing because it was trains. But I didn't discover that until today, and it spawned me I was at a station, but it only had the steam train, and I don't have the license for the steam train. So we had to walk for 10 minutes well, actually run. I was holding down sprint. We had to sprint for 10 minutes to find a station that had the train that I had the license for. It's also got some pretty big issues, pretty big bugs. So like, you know, it's called Derail Valley. One of the things is you can, you know, your train can derail, and it can be hilarious, you know, crazy, wacky physics. The train derails.
YouTube worthy.
And then it goes crazy. Yeah. So before I get onto that, I will say that driving the trains is actually feels pretty solid, pretty realistic. It feels chunky and satisfying, if that makes sense. Like, you know, whenever you go to back into a car to couple to it, like, it's okay to smack it a little bit, like but you can't ram it at like 20 miles an hour, otherwise you'll crash.
At least with that
right?
attitude.
But you can hit it at a few, you know, 3 or 4 miles an hour, and you'll get that nice big thud and, you know, a judder. And you go out and you hook it up and you're good to go. So it feels really satisfying. But whenever it goes off the rails, wink wink, it really can go crazy. But the sensitivity on that is way too high if you're pulling loaded cars. Unloaded cars are fine, but loaded cars, you know, so doing deliveries, which is a huge chunk of the game, if you get even a few miles an hour outside of the sort of the speed limit range for a curve or a hill or in the yard, your train will just derail. And it's a known bug that people are talking about in the forums, and the devs have recognized it, and they're like, oh, we're working on it, but it's like, you know, down here on the list, and the next patch is going to cover these bugs and these things. So that can be really frustrating. You really have to be careful, otherwise you will derail your train and crash, and then it's like, well, fuck, I'm now stranded. I have to walk to the nearest station and get another train. There's some other bugs and issues too. The terrain can be glitchy at times. The frame rate's not the steadiest. And there's no options menu. Like, you can't go in and change anything. So it is what it is. I think that's supposed to be in the next, like, beta release, is an options menu. And I'm like, well, that's good. That's good. So it's a fun little experience. And I like it a lot in spurts. But it shows a lot of potential. So as long as the dev doesn't drop the game, they keep working on it. They focus on putting some of the quality of life features in for the non-VR players, and they work out some of the biggest sort of game-breaking bugs. I think that they've got a winner on their hands here. It's got the whole sort of money thing going on, the potential for business management. I mean, there are lots of things that you can get beyond just like the next train license and, some random cosmetic whatevers. Like, there's tools you can get that I don't know what they do or if they like help you out in some way. There's the potential for there being multiple trains. Like I said, this map is huge. You know, maybe some AI trains or some kind of multiplayer something. Like, there's a lot of potential here, but right now it's all just like unmolded clay. Very, very buggy unmolded clay. So I mean,
clay that was left out and, some ants went through and fewer stuck.
Yeah, something like that. Personally, I can't recommend you buy into the game at this point at $20. But if this is something that you really like, or you're, as much into this stuff as I am, there's something here. There's some potential. Obviously it's a gamble if you buy into the game. If they stop developing it, this game is definitely not worth $20. So honestly, it comes down to more, personally what you're into and what you're hoping for. But yeah, I don't recommend this game at $20 unless you're really into the idea of this sort of thing and want to see it be developed further. But in the future, I'll keep an eye on it. I'll check back in every now and then. In the future, it may get to that level. I think if they had the main issues fixed with it, I think it would be worth $20. Like, if there was the quality of life features in there for people who don't have VR headsets, and particularly the bug where that you have no tolerances on anything and the train just crashes if you get even slightly out of the, whatever speed limit you're supposed to be within. Fixing those two things, I think, would make it make it worth $20 is more of a novelty to a lot of people. But at this stage, like, your train crashes because you went just a few miles an hour too fast. You're like trying to slow down, but you didn't slow down fast enough or whatever. And then you're stranded and you've got to walk 20 minutes back to the nearest station. That's just frustrating. So, yeah, that's it. A lot of promise. I hope it continues to be worked on and improved, because I think they've got an idea here. There's no other train game on the market like this, because it's not quite a simulator. It's certainly not something like Transport Fever, where you're doing just sort of the business management aspect. So it could fit a niche that nothing is filling if they keep working at it. So best of luck to you guys. The other game that I played this week was Subnautica. So Subnautica was the first game given away on the Epic Store. What was it? End of the year or very first of this year?
Something like that. I don't know. I didn't get it, so I don't know.
For a while, it was broken and unplayable through the store for everybody. And then it was fixed for NVIDIA users.
Which is not first, right? NVIDIA getting the priority.
Yeah.
Sarcasm.
And then, I know. And then AMD had to actually update their drivers, because whatever the game, it's 2 different releases from Steam and on the Epic Store, and AMD just went in and updated their drivers. That was one of the things they put in the more recent driver update, was support for the version that's on the Epic Store. So I had to wait for a fucking driver update to play this game. But
sounds like somebody has the grumpy pants on.
I'm grumpy about that. Subnautica is actually a very good game. The premise of Subnautica, if you're unaware, is that you are on a spaceship that crashes on an alien planet that is either entirely ocean, or you just happen to land in the middle of the ocean. And you start out in your little escape pod that's floating in some water, and you've got basically nothing. And you have to farm sea stuff, collect sea materials to craft and work your way up.
To D?
Yes. But, there is some story there. I don't want to spoil what there is. There could be a lot more than what I'm aware of at this stage. I'm still fairly early in the game. But, you get things like communications and transmissions from others that are out there. There's like a rescue vessel that you pick up transmissions from, and you've got your little computer lady who's like keeping this log of everything you find, and there's discount Cortana, and there's it has like theories and stuff in there once you research stuff, and like they update as you go, and suggestions for various ideas about the planet and research you can do and stuff like that. But I mean, I've only played it for about 3.5 hours total, so very early in the game. It's gorgeous though. Very, very beautiful. All of the bright colors, the various designs for the alien creatures, mostly fish. There's some other stuff you run into, but very interesting designs. Very, very beautiful if you just want to go hang out and, explore and look around. Because there's safer areas, there's more dangerous areas. I'm sure there's extremely dangerous areas I haven't gotten to yet, but there's a lot to explore and take in. Probably the thing I like the most about Subnautica is I know this from talking to other people that play it in our community, that the map has been created, so the map is always the same. So that feels really nice actually, because I can kind of learn.
Weird, huh?
Yeah, but I like that. I like a good handcrafted map. So, I mean, I could cheat and go look stuff up. I'm trying not to, but I do know that if I start a new game, all of the knowledge that I've gained from this current playthrough that I'm on can be applied to it. The game has got a really excellent subdivision of modes that I wish other games would do. So the standard game is, survival crafting full on. You have to eat, you have to drink, manage your health. When you're underwater, manage your oxygen, that sort of stuff. You die, you lose some stuff. You go back to whatever your last safe spot was. For me, that's still my escape pod, but I know that you can build a base. I think you can get a submarine too. But then there's a mode that takes out the food and water stuff. So all you have to worry about is not drowning.
Taking out the water at Subnautica, that must be, not leave much left.
Touche. I see what you did there. But eating food and drinking water, you don't have to do those two things. You just have to make sure you don't drown or get eaten by a big fish or something. Then there's just like a fun mode where that you can just explore and get stuff, and you don't have to worry about dying at all. And then there's the hardcore mode where that, die once and it's over and everything is worse. I'm playing on the standard mode, and the food and eating and drinking is not too terrible. It's not as bad as some games that I've played, but it's not as good as others. Planet Explorers come to mind. I spoke at length about how amazing the system was for making sure you didn't, starve to death. So, Subnautica's is not that great. The day-night cycle, you still can really get away with only eating like once or twice during a day, but the day-night cycle is much, much shorter. On the order of like 30 minutes or so of real time. So you're still devoting, at least at the beginning, a decent amount of time to getting food and filtering.
Gotta keep the bars up.
Clean water. Yeah. You don't have to worry about your health too much. It very slowly regenerates when you're doing all right and in a safe zone. And your escape pod automatically produces med kits for you. You can get, I think, probably about 2 a day. I haven't actually measured it, but around 2 a day that it generates for you. So you don't have to worry too much about dying at the beginning, as long as you don't accidentally get stuck in a cave and drown. There's lots of stuff you can help you to not drown. You can get upgrades for sort of like your scuba suit or whatever, so you can swim faster. You can create like emergency flotation devices that'll zip you up to the top. But especially in the beginning, you've got like 15 or 20 seconds of air, because I guess your guy's just holding his breath. And then once you get your first oxygen tank, you're doing pretty good. And then I've got an upgraded oxygen tank. But anyways, yeah, the game is a lot of fun. It's very scary, but it's scary in the sense of like, what did you say earlier? From
Creating Crowbar, another podcast I listened to. They had several episodes where they talked about Subnautica, and one of the Toms on there, because there's 2 Toms, because that makes things less confusing, right? Right. They used the term Ocean Willies for looking down into the dark and seeing just big fish moving around. Yeah,
so that's how it's scary. It's not scary in the sense of like jump scares or really horror-y stuff. It's just atmospheric. And, human beings are naturally afraid of the ocean. That's not our normal habitat. Like, when I say afraid of the ocean, like, not just afraid of going to the beach, but, being stranded out on the ocean. Like, what the fuck are you supposed to do, right? And everything could eat you, and you're not going to be able to fight back very well. So there have been several times as I've ventured out a little bit farther from the initial safe zone, once I started getting my first equipment upgrades, and it's like, you get the little notification, you're now 100 meters underwater. And it's like, I look up, and there's this giant, I don't know, shark thing above me, and I look down.
Say something that's going to be terrifying for you. This game has a VR mode, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Can you imagine playing this in VR?
Certain parts of this would be awesome in VR, and other parts of it I would be shitting my pants. But yeah, just looking down or looking up, it's like, oh god, like what is that? And I don't know if you can get any weapons. I have seen some things from like screenshots and trailers that might be weapons, but I don't have any of them. The only thing I have that could even function as a weapon is like a little utility knife, and it does not do very much damage. I've tried fighting off a predator fish with it, and it nearly ate me. And what I did was I used a fire extinguisher that I had to give me extra propulsion and escape from it, because it could swim faster than I could.
Okay, I like that.
So I use my fire extinguisher for extra propulsion. But yeah, the knife is not a very good weapon. It does damage. You can kill some creatures with it, but it's really not worth it. You're better off to just run away with only the utility knife.
Or the fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
Go full Wall-E.
I've used that for my emergency flotation device for a while. I've only drowned once. It was the first time I went below 100 meters. And I was exploring a cave. I'm like, ooh, look at all the goodies down here. And then it was like, oxygen warning. And I started swimming up to the top. And I was like, oh no, I'm not going to make it. And even with my fire extinguisher, I didn't make it. So when you drown, the screen goes black. And you've got a few seconds, maybe 4 or 5 seconds, to get to an air source, which can be either the surface of the water, or you can create sort of pipe networks to pump air down that you can use without having to go all the way back to the surface. But you've got maybe 5 seconds to get to one of those things. And if you don't, then you wake up and you're on your ship and you get a message like, you have died and you have lost some of your inventory. I'm not sure if you can go back and find it. I haven't yet. There was a big scary fish down there. I don't want to go back to where it was. I don't want to get eaten. I was going out looking for something specific to like a message I got. And I found the thing I was looking for. I'm going to be kind of vague because it is a slightly, story thing. Mm-hmm. But I found what I was looking for, and there was a fish there. And it was the first time I met a fish that actually attacked me. And I was like, oh, look, a fish. That's kind of a big, he looks kind of like oh god, he's biting me. Oh Jesus, like run away. So I haven't been back to that area either. I have the utility knife now, but I don't think I could kill that thing. But I mean, it's a really, really good game. I really like it. I'm going to play it more. I think you can beat it. I think you can like escape the planet. And if that's the case, I'm going to try and beat it. And if not, I'm going to try and make a really cool underwater base and get a submarine. And something that I can fight fishes with. But it's very enjoyable. I would recommend it to anyone as long as you don't have a horrendous fear of the ocean. Runs pretty well too. I've got it locked to 60 on my machine. It was running at mid-ish 70s, jumping up and down, because this is one game where I actually cranked the graphics settings up as high as they could, or as high as they could go. But so I locked it at 60 just to avoid that kind of hitching, as it bounced up and down, but in the 70s, give or take a little bit, because it is gorgeous. But anyways, yeah, Subnautica, 2 thumbs up. Good game. Check it out if you haven't already. But that leads to an excellent segue to our first news topic, because as I was mentioning at the beginning, Subnautica being on the Epic Store. Fucking epic.
Oh.
Our first news topic, Metro Exodus is an Epic Store exclusive now.
Yeah, they're a front runner for the Gilded Bird already this year. Probably should have done it last year, but yeah, I thought Blizzard's Do You Not Have Phones was a little bit more, and I didn't think they would continue with this trend, but well, here we are, right?
Indeed. So do you want me to go first with my issue? Because it doesn't quite so much have to do with the stores. It does
go
the
ahead.
Fucking stupid Epic. So, as I mentioned right off the top, the game didn't work for anybody when they first put it on their store. I don't know what that problem was. But they didn't say, oh, you need to get an AMD driver update. They just said, the issues with Subnautica have been corrected. All you have to do is verify your install files. It'll download the patch for you. You'll be fine. So I did that. And that process took forever, because there's no way to change the order that things are being checked or downloaded in. So I opened it up, started downloading an update for Fortnite, because I have Fortnite installed. I was like, okay, I'll just pause this and swap it, just like you can do on Steam. No.
Well, that's basic functionality. It's not going to be on the Epic Store.
It took it like 2.5 hours to download the Fortnite update and install it, and it wasn't even that big, so I'm guessing there was an issue with their servers or something, because it took...
Well, it's a Fortnite update, so it's going to be like, back in the day when a Team Fortress 2 update the Steam servers are just slammed. So I imagine it's probably the same for Fortnite.
It was like a 4 or a 5 gigabyte download, which for me that shouldn't take 2.5 hours. And then it had to install, and then it verified Subnautica, which took it another 30 minutes to verify, then download the patch and install it. And like, I put this game on my SSD because it's not that big. So it just took for fucking ever, and then it still doesn't work. And so then I'm like going hunting the solution, and finally I found, oh yeah, AMD says it's a driver issue. They're gonna put out an updated driver soon that includes a fix for it. And I'm like, well, fuck, I just wasted a lot of time.
Hey, but you updated Fortnite.
I did. I want to go back and play Fortnite some, see what any of the new updated content is for the Save the World mode, because fuck Battle Royale. But I mean, that's my issue. Just their thing is just there's no basic functionality.
Why do you think even with free games, I'm not even messing with them?
Yeah.
I mean, that says something, right?
I just wanted to play Subnautica. That's all I wanted.
I mean, they don't even have a community center. A lot of devs are actually pointing to their Steam communities, which I have to wonder if Valve is going to start cracking down on this, because that's kind of the core issue with Metro Exodus, is that they had a very protracted time on Steam where they were taking pre-orders. And now, well, they just announced that, it's going to come to Steam in 2020. It's going to have a year-long exclusivity deal on the Epic storefront. And they cut the price by $10. So, there's a kick in the balls for everybody that pre-ordered. Now, they are doing a partial refund for anybody that sticks around on Steam. And anyone that bought on Steam does get a or get the game. If they have it refunded already. But, with Subnautica having two different, complete different builds, I have to wonder if it's going to be the same for, other games like this.
Yeah, I don't know if it's DLC or a free update or something, but when I was looking at the Steam store, there's content that they're advertising on their Steam store that is not on the version that's on Epic. Yeah,
and this is, I understand that Valve needs competition, but this is the worst way to do it,
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
And the fact that some of the people in the comments on TechRaptor are saying, oh, I'm glad Valve is getting kicked in the wallet. You do realize that we're the ones being kicked, right?
Yeah. And even if Valve is losing some money, which I guess, they would be a little bit, like, how... Excuse me. Sorry. How much is it? Yeah. Is it really noticeable for them? There's so much stuff on Steam. Like, what's, 2 or 3 games gonna matter to their overall sales?
I do have to wonder if they're going to eventually put in some sort of policy where if you're taking active pre-orders, you can't pull an exclusivity deal. Because this isn't the first game that's done this. This is just the most recent one, and the one that's waited till practically right before launch. And this is not just a deal that just suddenly clicked. According to another article, the physical versions of the PC game for Metro, the PC version, has Epic Store keys. And they've been printing those for quite a while now. So, this is not a new thing,
Yeah. So in that case, the question is, did they just hide it from Valve?
Sounds like it. From everything, everything that I've gathered, they've been working behind the scenes to set this up. Which, if that's true, I do have to wonder, just when is Valve going to step in? When is Gaben going to bring down the mighty hammer? The holy hammer of banning. Because this is just exploiting Steam. And exploiting the features of Steam, which is practically all the features that I want on the Epic Game Store to ever even want to consider buying there, you know?
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous that the one store that is more friendly towards developers is just so anti-consumer. There's a certain irony to the situation, right?
Yeah. There is.
But I love the rather pseudo passive aggressive announcement Valve put out. Later today, sales of Metro Exodus will be discontinued on Steam due to a publisher decision to make the game exclusive on another PC store. The developer and publisher have assured us that all prior sales of the game on Steam will be fulfilled on Steam, and Steam owners will be able to access the game and any future updates or DLC through Steam. We think the decision to remove the game is unfair to Steam customers, especially after a long pre-sale period. We apologize to Steam customers that were expecting it to be available on sale through the February 15th release date. We only recently were informed of this decision and given limited time to let everyone know. Valve is pissed.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
I'm bummed out about this, actually. I was looking forward to Metro Exodus. I probably wasn't going to buy it, day one.
Mm-hmm.
I very rarely do that. But, Metro is a series that I have enjoyed in the past. And I like the fact that this one is going to be much more focused on, what's out in the world and doing a bit more exploring and things like that. So, been looking forward to that. And, maybe around summertime or Christmas time, pick it up on Steam, somewhere around 50% off.
Well, now you're looking at summertime, Christmas time, 2020.
Yeah.
Or 2021.
And I'm not going to buy it on the Epic Store if they keep doing shit like this. Like, if the Epic Store was just better, more consumer friendly, something more like GOG, I wouldn't have a problem with buying games there. Even if it wasn't more consumer friendly than
Steam, even if it had the basic functionality of Steam.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing they have right now is friends lists. They've actively said that they do not want to build a community. They actively said that they do not want to have reviews shown. So, why are people defending them? Outside of, Valve is finally getting theirs. And honestly, if I wanted to hear that sort of argument, I'd be reading political news right now.
Yeah, be reading a lot more political news. Yeah, I hate that mindset. Like, oh, this thing sucks, but it's fucking over another thing that I think deserves it, so whatever.
Also known as the U.S. political system these days.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would like to see the Epic Store make some changes. I would like Valve to have more good competition, but this is not good. This is not even okay. This is real bad. Makes me real unhappy.
No, sir, I don't like it.
So, I mean, I'll keep taking the free stuff. The free games they put out.
I'm not even touching the free games. I don't even.
I'm not interested.
Well, I don't have an account over there, and I don't plan on making one until they make some serious changes.
Yeah, I'm not interested in the next one, which is Axiom Verge. February 7th is when that one comes up as the free game. Right? Did I read that right? Yeah, February 7th through February 21st. Mm-hmm. So, not interested in Axiom Verge. The last, they did Subnautica, and then what was the other one that they did? What Remains of Edith Finch. They did that one for the end of January or for January. Mm-hmm. Maybe Subnautica was December. Edith Finch, January. So, I mean, I'll grab those free games, but because I already have an account. I own Fortnite, Save the World. I guess technically the Battle Royale, but that's shit. So, I'm never gonna let it go. I'm just gonna keep on it. But yeah, I don't. Do you have more? I don't know if I have any more.
Not really. I mean, this is just a dick move by. It's not even Deep Silver. It's and I can't be mad at Deep Silver because they're innocent in this. It's essentially being upset at an employee for something that the CEO did. Because it wasn't even the publisher. It was the rights holder of Metro Exodus that made this call. And they've been or Deep Silver's been actively distancing themselves away from this decision, saying, no, guys, it's not us. We didn't want this. I think they realized that this is going to hurt their sales. But, I imagine Epic threw a lot of money at that rights holder.
Oh, I'm sure they did. I'm not sure I want to know how much. But I bet it was a whole lot.
Well, the problem is that it went to the rights holder and not the developer, so they're going to be starving. But they did chop off $10 off the price, so and that's pretty much the difference between the money that they would have gotten on the Steam store, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's the other thing is that they cut off the price, but that would have been the extra money.
I'm just shaking my head. I realize you can't see that, but I'm just shaking my head.
Just weird.
Yeah. So, you want to go talk about that thing that we both were like, oh, we're so tired of talking about this. EA backs down over loot boxes in Belgium. So, a few weeks ago? A couple of months ago? I'm not exactly sure when this
no, it's kind of all blurred together, hasn't it?
Yeah, but Belgium said, I'm nutshelling, in a nutshelling this. Belgium said, loot boxes are gambling. If you're going to sell your game here, then no loot boxes. Got to take them out. EA went, all of the other, EA went, and all the other devs had taken, they did it, but then they were like, oh, shit, let's watch this. So EA finally relented and is removing the loot boxes in their game. What was the exact date? It's like beginning of February, so...
It will go into effect January 31st, so by the time the podcast is out, this change will already be in effect. It's coming out Thursday. So basically, they're pulling what Blizzard did in China, and instead of making a basic change to the to the core functionality of the game, they're removing the ability to buy the currency.
Yep. So,
but it doesn't look like they're doing the full Blizzard where what Blizzard did in China, just to highlight that, is in Overwatch, you're able to buy the loot boxes directly, but there's no key system in place. It's just you get the loot box and it opens, that sort of thing. And any duplicates you get, it breaks down into whatever they call the currency to be able to buy individual things or individual cosmetics. Well, in China, they flipped it on its head where instead you're buying that currency to craft the different cosmetics, but they throw in free loot boxes. What a scummy maneuver.
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh, yeah. So EA, let's see, where is it? So EA stated, they apologize to players in Belgium for any inconveniences going to be caused by the change. We seek to bring choice, fairness, value, and fun to our players in all of our games. In addition to providing players with options on how we play, we include pack probabilities in our games for the transparency players want to make informed content choices.
I'm sorry. I can't keep a straight face on that. No, you're not putting it there for transparency. You're putting it there because you're forced.
Mm-hmm. While we're taking this action, we do not agree with Belgian authorities' interpretation of the law. We will continue to seek more clarity on the matter as we go forward. And this one is the one that really gets me. The impact of this change to FIFA Ultimate Team in Belgium is not material to our financial performance. That's the biggest thing that frustrates me. Out of all of this whole thing, they're like, we hear both extremes from them. We hear, well, games just, they cost way more than $60, really, like all of this is so that we can afford to keep making games, and then they take it out, and it's like, it doesn't matter. It's fine, we don't need it. It's like, fuck you guys. Which one is it? Which, I mean, we all know the real answer, which is they're greedy fuckers, and they want to bring every last single dime out of every person who is willing to, open up their wallets to them. My whole thing is, if you can't run your business on the product that you're selling, then you either need to change your product or get out of the business.
No, we just need to add more product, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, they're not changing the game, so people are going to find out, well, I'm sure people are aware, but it's going to become painfully obvious how much loot boxes and microtransactions affect gameplay, because they're not rebalancing the game. So now it's going to be much more apparent to everybody how grindy it is. I can't wait to hear or see all kinds of stuff on social media and news stories, and people complaining that the game's too grindy, and oh, I didn't realize that they had adjusted the way that the game played to encourage people to spend money on microtransactions and loot boxes. And I get it, like, not everybody notices stuff like that because they have more money or more time or whatever, or maybe they just don't give a shit until it's confronted them. But I'm sure it'll happen. Be interesting to see how that develops.
Ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, this whole thing is a mess.
And this is a niche of the gaming market to begin with, because this deals with sports games.
Yeah. It looks like they just caved. I'm sure that there was a lot more going on before they finally decided to actually just do it. I didn't know Nancy Pelosi was involved in this.
Yeah. Sorry.
So I'm wondering what sort of pressure was being put on them legally. Like, that's the only thing that comes to mind. Like, Belgium had a critical enough threat or a big enough repercussions that they could leverage.
Or they were facing enough fines that the return just wasn't worth it anymore. Because that's the other thing. Is that, we think, that's just the sports titles, but the sports titles are actually where they get a good chunk of their microtransactions. And something I didn't even realize at first, just how insane it is over there with so many whales. So maybe the whale in Belgium moved, had one too many waffles, had to get out.
Oh.
Is that terrible of me?
Maybe a little bit, but it was still funny, so we can both go to hell for that.
But yeah, that's the thing about these microtransactions, is that the plankton, as I refer to it instead of minnows, because you're feeding the whales. They're the microtransactions designed not for you, ironically enough, even though they talk about how in order to fund the game, or to fund all the extra stuff, or to run the servers, everybody has to buy into the microtransactions, but they're not designed around everybody paying in a little bit, chipping in, a buck or two. And the system's designed around the dolphins and the whales, the big spenders. And it just feels like it's so damn exploitative that I just cannot support it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I agree. It is ridiculous.
It makes me wonder just how long until we start seeing some major studies about the addictive spending in these games.
That's a good question. I'll be sure and keep an eye out for that. I occasionally browse through research and psychological journals and stuff, so if I see anything, I'll be sure and bring it up.
Because that has to be a study in the making, not the addictiveness of the game itself, or the loot box mechanics, which are specifically designed to trigger, all the gambling centers, all the risk taking, and all the reward centers, but just the psychology of buying in, and just that massive sunk cost fallacy with these whales that spend thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Well, there was one article that didn't make the docket, where there was one guy basically changing the course of the lore and star system because he's spending so much money, having massive battles, PvP battles.
Which that sounds very much like EVE Online. Mm-hmm. Very, a little too close for comfort. I've still never played Star Citizen. It still doesn't work on my computer. Actually, I don't know if that's true or not. It's been like 8 months since I've tested it. I've been round and round and round with support trying to fix that issue, and every time I think about it, it just makes me angry.
Well, have you tried giving them more money?
No, and I'm not going to.
Ever again?
No, never. I'll take that money and I'll spend it in Elite Dangerous on something. That's a game I've spent too much money on cosmetics in. But I mean, there's no loot boxes or anything like that.
Yeah.
If you're going to do microtransactions or whatever, that's the best way to do them. Just put the shit up and let people buy it. Buy exactly what they want.
That's how Warframe does it, even though they use the bullshit currency conversion. The fact that the currency is tradable, though, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big
Elite,
difference.
In Elite, there's no premium currency. It's just, hey, you want those cool cosmetic things? All right. That's, $5 or whatever.
I still think microtransactions are too expensive to be micro.
Yeah. I mean, there are individual things you can buy for Elite that are really expensive, but most of the stuff just comes in packs, and it's like, hey, do you want to buy the pack of colors for X ship? Awesome, that's $5, and you'll get all the color packs, or whatever it is that you're going for. And some of it's broken down individually, so it's like, hey, if you don't want a pack, if you bought all of the things individually, it would be more expensive. But if you just want one color, like I picked, was it purple engine color? And I paid 99 cents for that because that was the only color I wanted.
Yeah,
the color pack I think was $5. It's like 10 or 12 colors or something.
I'm not sure what the palette costs are in Warframe. I think
they're very cheap, or at least they used to be.
Yeah, they are, and the thing is that they're usable across everything that's colorable. Yeah, so it's not an individual ship. I think they're 75 plat, which is like 75 cents, less than $1, if memory serves correctly. Yeah, very cheap. But once again, you just get it just by trading. So.
Yeah.
And they also have pallets that show up that are credits only, which is the free currency. That require just a little bit of grinding to get. Get that hit on, the first hit's free, kids.
First one's free. Yeah.
Speaking of something that's definitely not free anymore.
I'm off from the topic list. If you've got it, go for it.
Well, I was going to say the free to play game, Westworld, is no more because it's no longer free. It's dead. So, Westworld, those who may remember a while back, Bethesda was suing the developer of both Fallout Shelter and the Westworld game for, was it copyright infringement for Fallout Shelter? I can't remember if it was copyright or trademark infringement.
I think it was trademark because they were saying that like the game systems were too similar.
No. It wasn't too similar. They were the same. What happened was the developer, which is this is just a weird story to begin with. All right, so both Warner Brothers and Bethesda farmed out their mobile title to a third party. Not unusual. And Bethesda did this first, and they farmed it out to, and I'm going to have to scroll through the article here to find out who it is. And of course, it's not in the first paragraph because that would be useful, wouldn't
it? Yes, that would be helpful information.
Go find it while I'm doing this. But they farmed out to a mobile-focused developer to develop Fallout Shelter. Fallout Shelter comes out. And something in their contract made it so that the code itself, the individual systems, is actually property of Bethesda, which is just an odd thing. It's not unheard of, but it's just usually when these systems are developed, they become tools for that developer to continue iterating on. And Bethesda's really good at this, right? Because their core system, their core engine, has been iterated on for 20 years now.
Yeah.
So along comes Warner Brothers and you're still looking for this, aren't you?
It's Behavior Interactive.
Behavior Interactive. Well,
yeah, I just found it.
Oh, I must have just skipped over it because Behavior Interactive.
It's not in the article.
No, it's actually in the first paragraph. I just skipped over it.
Oh, well, sweet.
Well, Behavior Interactive is just a weird name, so I just skipped over it, I guess. But anyway, Behavior Interactive was then contacted by Warner Brothers to develop a Fallout Shelter-like game for the TV show Westworld, or the HBO show Westworld. And they used the code that they developed for Fallout Shelter. And Bethesda saw this and started seeing the same bugs that were in the original release of Fallout Shelter and thought, that looks familiar. And sued because they owned that code, or owned the rights to use it, I guess. And it makes me wonder just what type of contract did they have that allowed that. But oh well, I guess the damage was done too greatly to Westworld and has been it's being shelved. I mean, it's just an odd sequence of events in this, and it's one of those times that, boy, that game's just a copy paste of Fallout Shelter. Well, turns out it was.
Yeah, I never played it. I was never a big fan of. Well, I've never really gotten into Westworld.
Never watched it.
Yeah, I watched an episode and I was like, oh, this is good. I should watch this, and then I never did. So I've never really gotten into it. And honestly, even if I had, I probably wouldn't have gotten into the mobile game for it.
Honestly, I couldn't even get into Fallout Shelter, let alone a game for a TV show that I had never even seen. I was aware of it, somewhat. But that was about it. It's going to be shutting down in April, so if you're really thirsty to experience Westworld, well, you still got a little bit of time. But these games are typically designed to be protracted experiences, so how much are you really going to experience, right? And also, they're not developing it.
Yeah, so it'll just be riding out its time and then done.
I mean, it's just... This was just a strange story. And also, I wonder if it was copy and paste or if it was more the developers had a particular way of doing certain things in the game. Because these are, practically this. Well, it's the same genre. It's the same essential game underneath the skin. Part of me wonders, just how much of that is just the developers having a certain way of doing things that the contract was rather strict on. Or if it was just a straight copy-paste. I don't know which one it was.
I mean, I could see them basically copy-pasting the code underneath, running the game, and then just changing the...
art assets?
Art assets. They were like, oh yeah, we can flip this. Nobody will notice.
Bethesda does.
I don't want to... Yeah. But I don't want to, assign malicious intent to it. It could have been an accident. Maybe they were copying sections of it because it's like, well, I mean, we can just reuse this bit of the code. That'll save us, development time and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And they just happen to get, enough things that it breached the contract, or could have been a fine print situation and, they just missed it. I don't know. I don't know how much legalese went into this particular contract. So I don't want to assign malicious intent or, like if they knew what they were doing was bad and they thought they could get away with it, but it could have easily been that, just as easily as it could have been a mistake or, a misunderstanding that they've, wound up fucking them over. So.
It's just such a weird situation, but also funny that, Bethesda recognized a bug. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they didn't fix it. They're not fixing it.
No, just wait for the community to fix it, right?
Yeah. Or just sue somebody.
Or get sued.
Just lots of suing.
Suing kind of rhymes with sewing.
Sort of. Farming Simulator League is a real esports venture with a $250,000 prize pool. Or is that 250,000 euros?
Euro.
250,000 euro prize pool. So we just thought this was interesting and neat.
Which each euro is $1.14 right now.
So initially we were both kind of like, well, this is odd. But after thinking about it, it makes sense. I mean, in real life, there are all kinds of farming competitions and, some of them...
Yeah, I think it just seems odd because they didn't detail it.
Yeah, it just says that there is going to be one, basically. But in the game, though, I mean, basically, when you break it down to its gameplay elements, you're trying to maximize whatever your crops need to produce the best yield. And that comes down to, water, sunlight, fertilizer, pesticide, rotation, maybe having some farm animals as well to help create, some sort of environment or something that can help best your crops grow. So there's a lot of min-maxing and efficiency in there. Lots of room for people to do things like make mistakes. And, a competitive esports scene could be a thing. Like, it's not as far-fetched after you think about it for a minute. But, yeah, that initial response is like, huh? What?
Yeah, it's just...
Why are we having esports for this now?
Title for an esports scene.
Yeah. But at the same time, pretty neat, too. I've been to a few county fair, farming competition results, growing crops, or I've seen, like... skilled or technical tractor driving and things like that have like sections of field and give everybody the same tractor and bush hog or some other type of mowing implement and do like time them and see how clean they were and accurate. Like I've seen some of that stuff because I grew up in the middle of fucking nowhere in the backwoods of Tennessee, so I've been to some of these. They're kind of boring to me, but lots of people like them, so who am I to judge?
A lot of people with cowboy hats on?
Yeah. Cowboy hats, assless chaps, overalls. Actually, lots of overalls. Lots and lots of old men in overalls. I used to hate overalls, but now that I'm getting a little bit older, they're like really comfy and convenient, and there's lots of pockets. It's like overalls are looking more attractive to me all the time.
Yeah, but you have to get a lot stronger Southern accent to really appreciate them.
Yeah. Howdy, y'all.
Now you need to drop your IQ by about 50 points.
Make America great again.
No, you've gone too far.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we're kind of off the rails, but what else is new, right?
Bless your heart. I do declare. That's like...
That's Southern Belle.
Yeah, I'm not a Southern Belle. I'm not pretty enough to be a Southern Belle. Yeah. This was just a quick little thing. I don't think there's really much more to say until we get some more information.
Strange. But...
Yeah.
That's a thing. I mean, to be fair, it's a lot better than, some of the other stories that we have coming up, but we have something interesting, at least, unless I have my things opened in the wrong order again.
No, they're in the right order now. Oh, God. Avast is, like, beeping at me. Threat secured. I don't know what threat there was. Anyways.
Well, you pissed off the far right, so, bomb.
I guess so.
It's an email bomb.
Is this specifically for the United States? I said U.S. in the opening. Or is this worldwide?
I believe it's U.S. Or Actually, maybe not. 2018 was another record-setting year for the U.S. Gaming industry. So this is U.S. Looks like.
Okie dokie. So, the U.S. spent over $43 billion on video games last year. That is the news article title. And yeah, this is only tracking physical sales. It's tracking games and, well, it says hardware and software, so that would be game sales, console sales, potentially peripheral sales. It doesn't say specifically unless I'm missing it. But yeah, that's a lot of money spent on games and gaming and only the physical stuff. I could imagine that the digital sales, depending on how wide you want to go, so if you want to say PC and console gaming versus including mobile gaming in that, those would probably be two vastly different dollar figures. But I would imagine that digital sales would be at least, half again as much, maybe more, matching that 43.4 billion figure. I mean, I buy all of my games exclusively digitally. I know plenty of people who do. The PC market is huge, and there's very, very little physical hardware sales or physical software sales in the PC market anymore. And even lots of console sales. I mean, the few games I have gotten on console in the last couple of years have been exclusively digital. I don't buy any physical copies of anything anymore. There's pros and cons to that, but generally it's quicker, it's easier, more convenient. I don't have to store hundreds of games. So I can imagine that the digital sales are still really huge, but I mean, that's a fuck ton of money.
Oh, yeah. They weren't joking when they said that the game industry is the biggest entertainment industry in the world. Yeah. According to the article, Nintendo is the actual real winner this year. Even though they didn't have a number one, Super Smash Brothers being number 5, along with a few other good sellers. Mario Kart being number 12, for example.
Mario Party, number 19. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, that's Nintendo exclusive. That's number 20. Zelda, 18.
Yeah, so, they definitely are up there. But let's just, should we just go down the list?
Yeah, the top 20 selling games list. Yeah, so this is, again, physical sales only. But these are the top 20
should we go from 20
selling
to 1,
games.
Since we mentioned some of the lower numbers?
Sure, let's do that. Number 20.
Yeah, number 20
Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu.
Not a surprise. I imagine next year when, or I should say this year, when the mainline Pokemon comes out. I think it's this year at least.
I think it is too.
And it's going to be
one for Switch.
Yeah, it's going to be the first one for essentially a home console. Even though the Switch kind of blurs the line there. That's going to be a massive seller.
Yeah.
And then Super Mario Party, number 19. There's another one for Nintendo. Also known as, well, you have too many friends. Let's get rid of some.
The fuck over your friends simulator. I enjoy the Mario Party franchise. I haven't played an entry in, what was the last one I played? Mario Party 4? Yeah, probably Mario Party 4. But I mean, I've enjoyed the franchise in the past. And
once you got rid of all your friends, you could sit around and play Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, that's number 18. Not really interested.
Well, the thing is, when the Switch came out, that was the game because that was one of the few first-party big games that was available at launch or near launch, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the big launch title. Although it's straddling 2 consoles because you can get Breath of the Wild for Wii U.
Yeah, but the thing is that this isn't talking about just sales on the Switch, so.
Yeah.
So that may actually help it than hinder it.
So Nintendo has the bottom 3 slots.
Yeah.
And then a couple more on their way up. But number 17, the first not Nintendo game, Dragon Ball FighterZ with Z.
Yeah, almost like there's some sort of Z
and
a lot of Dragon Ball stuff.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a surprise to me. I mean, Dragon Ball has always felt like much more niche, but
not
maybe it's breaking out of that.
Not really. I mean, Dragon Ball is one of the big shonen titles, one of the big, anime titles for teenage boys to young men. And it's perpetually being redone and re-released. There was a new series. It wasn't this season. It was only just a couple seasons ago. That was a redo of a lot of older stuff where they cut down some of the major filler. So, yeah, Dragon Ball is one of those series that is out there, but it's constantly in the limelight. So it's not actually a surprise to me.
They've got a new movie that's actually in theaters.
Well, wasn't sure if they had a new movie out or not, but Dragon Ball has so much media out there, and I imagine that the fact that this was also a 2D fighting game is probably also helping it, because there are some just horrible Dragon Ball games as well. Not really a surprise to me. Maybe a surprise that it's this. Well, if this is US only, it's not a surprise that it's this low on the list. If it's not US only, it's a surprise that's this low on the list. Anyway, moving on.
Yep, number 16, Call of Duty World War II.
A little surprising that it's this low with a Call of Duty game.
Boo. Lots of people disliked it. Bad single player. Loot boxes, microtransaction, mess, weird, convoluted multiplayer system with that, third-person lobby thing they did.
Hey, but you could open loot boxes in it.
Yep. Show them off in front of everybody. Number 15, back to another Nintendo title, Super Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, this one was just so praised for Mario games are typically, pretty well received, but this one was just almost universally loved. They threw a lot of really different things into it. They mixed in some of the more 2D old school elements. They had a lot of different collectibles. They threw in a lot of different storylines, actually, which is a little strange for a Mario game, because usually it's pretty bare bones, but they went all out on this one, and it really paid off for them, it seems.
Yeah. I mean, it's the first Mario game I've been interested in since Super Mario Sunshine. So, I mean, I don't have a Switch. If I get a Switch, I'll probably pick it up. But, probably not this year. So next on the list, number 14, Battlefield 5. Another, the one of the big shooter franchises was horrendously panned this year.
Yeah, but it still outdid Mario, so that says something.
Yeah. I'm not as familiar with everything that went wrong with Battlefield 5. I've always been more of a Call of Duty guy.
Wasn't there a lot of virtue signaling around it, especially with a handicapped woman not being on the front lines?
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of people that went after it with the... Let's see, they, created all of these false World War II stories, and people went after them. Look, if you want to tell stories about women and people of color and things like that in World War II, you don't have to make shit up. Just go to history and pull from history. There was I can't remember her name, but there's a Russian lady from that time period who the Nazis killed her husband.
Yeah, that was all over Reddit the last month or so. She sold everything and bought a tank.
Yep, and went and fucked up Nazis. Tell that woman's story. Or the sniper, who was also a Russian. The most decorated sniper was a female Russian in World War II.
Or
tell her story.
Even though it's been told a lot of times, the Tuskegee Airmen.
Yeah, do something with that. Or some of the real all-black regiments that existed in World War II. Tell those stories. Don't make shit up. But now I'm getting preachy. But I mean, that was one of the big issues that people had with the game. There's also some balance issues. A whole bunch of people lost their shit over that I don't quite understand. People really complaining about the time to kill or the time to death or something, and then there were real death threats, and it became a whole thing. And I don't understand that, but There's some
It's
of
a
that
silly
stuff going
place.
on.
Let's not go there.
And then issues with microtransactions and loot boxes and all that jazz.
Of course.
But yeah, let's go somewhere else. Speaking of loot boxes, number 13 on the list, FIFA 19. Yeah. Let's just move on. Number 12, another Nintendo game, Mario Kart 8.
Yeah, it's a little interesting that Mario Kart outsold Super Mario Odyssey by this amount.
Yeah. I mean, Mario Kart's awesome.
True, and it is a big multiplayer game.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. Like, I mean, we have a Wii U, so a little bit farther back on the Nintendo consoles, but like the games that we own are Mario Kart 7 or whichever Mario Kart game is on the Wii U. We've got that one, and we've got the Smash Brothers that is on Wii U, and then the stuff that came with the console. That's it. Those are the only games we have. So, I mean, that makes sense to me because that's what we play when our friends that live in the area come over. It's like, hey, we want to have some game night? Want to play some video games? Like, they don't want to go play games on Xbox. They don't want to do PC stuff. It's like, yeah, let's play Mario Kart because, those are the games that, more casual gamers play lots of times. Stuff like that. So that makes sense to me. Anyways.
Number 11, Grand Theft Auto 5. Still hanging in there, huh?
Yeah. Grand Theft Auto is gonna...
It's going to be the new Skyrim, isn't it?
I was going to say it's going to be the new Skyrim, but it won't quite ever hit Skyrim's thing unless it starts making new versions to sell all over the place.
Either that or open it up a lot more to modders, but that cuts into the shark cards.
Yeah.
Number 10, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Little surprising that it's this high because wasn't there a lot of controversy around this one?
There was some. Most of what I heard about Odyssey, though, was that, you loved it or you hate it, and most people seemed to love it. So, I don't know. It was generally received better than Origins, which was the previous one, and that one was pretty well liked.
I'm sorry,
overall.
But one of the podcasts just kind of ruined me on Assassin's Creed Origins because of the accent. It always sounded like he was saying Assassin's Creed Oranges.
No, that's good.
And it's just, it's one of those little mental ticks, right?
Right. So number 9, I'm happy to see Monster Hunter World. Great game.
Yeah, surprising that it's this high, actually.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm surprised it's this high. Maybe even a little surprised it's on the list at all. Like, Monster Hunter is definitely a fairly niche title.
Yeah, but this is also the first time it's been released in the West on a console or console and PC for ages, isn't it?
Yeah, it was on, I think the last one that came out in the US on something that wasn't a handheld was Monster Hunter 3, which would have been like early 2010s. Like 2012, 2013, maybe somewhere in there. So it's been a good 4 or 5 years, give or take.
Yeah, and this is the first time it's been on PC, hasn't it?
Yeah, this is the first time it's ever been on PC, I believe. There might have been one PC release that was in Asian markets only, but I mean, this is the first time it's ever been on PC in the West.
And let's see, number 8 is God of War, 2018.
Yeah.
Not really a surprise there with just how much acclaim that game got.
Yeah, I've heard pretty much nothing but good things.
Pretty much the only people that I've heard complain about it is is that they changed the systems. That it's more of an ARPG than it was a hack and slash game like the previous God of War games. Which, that's fair. I can understand, being upset over that. Because that is a pretty big switch. But, it seems like they did really well.
Yeah. See, next on the list. This one is surprising to me as well. Far Cry 5.
Just because of
the
the
only thing that makes
controversy?
sense. Yeah, maybe. Also, Far Cry is a huge series. So it's one of those things that, like, sort of the weight of the property carries it for a while. Because I've heard, mostly, aside from the controversy, Far Cry 5 is basically just a pretty okay game. Like, nothing special to write home about.
Yeah, I realize it's not set where I live, but it hits a little too close to home for me to ever want to play that.
Yeah. But that's the exact reason why I want to play it, because of how close to home it hits for me. You know, I know it's, again, you know, it's set in, what is it, Montana or Wyoming or something? But, you know, they play up a lot of the sort of redneck aspects of it, which are, you know, very similar to where I live. And you too.
Mm-hmm.
Next on the list, though, at number 6, Marvel's Spider-Man.
Does Spider-Man count as a redneck?
No, definitely not.
Well, I guess it depends on the costume.
Yeah. But the Spider-Man did quite well this year. Not surprised to see it on here. I mean, probably about where I'd put it. Like,
yeah, especially since it's a console exclusive. Or a single console exclusive, I should say. I mean, that's Spider-Man was also another one that was pretty much just universally loved. And the only criticism I really heard was either nitpicking, or there was a couple people upset about some of the forced stealth sections, which I could get.
Yeah. Number 5, this is the last Nintendo game on the list. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Which, is that the one that is that the Switch one? It's gotta be, right?
I think so. This is the one that they did the big trailer for, and it just they pretty much could have said all the previous characters, but they listed off every single one. And yeah, this is the Switch one.
Which, that's, to me, this is crazy, because it released November, December, like at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. And like, I'm not surprised that it sold a bunch of copies, but that it sold enough to put it in the number 5 spot.
It released December 7th.
Yeah,
it's been out for just under 2 months now. It'll be 2 months a week from Thursday. That is absurd.
So yeah, I'm not surprised that it sold a bunch of copies. I am surprised at how many it sold so fast to put it at number 5 on this list. Yeah. Number 4, though, Madden 2019 or Madden 19. Sports ball, football, American football. Number 3, NBA 2K19 sports basketball.
This is the one with the different ball?
Yeah, it's the round one that's orange. It's got the black stripes on it, little dimples.
Of course you would be paying attention to it being dimpled.
Wink. Yeah, sports, whatever. Number 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 4.
Probably bolstered a lot by the fact that this one has the Battle Royale mode.
Yeah.
Because they cut down a lot in this game.
Battle Royale mode, and also probably because the Black Ops series has been the best one for a long time now. I'm really sad that it doesn't have a single-player campaign, because the original Black Ops single-player campaign is probably the best Call of Duty campaign, and a genuinely just good story. It hits on a lot of interesting things, fun things that have been played up in films in the past. You know, it deals with some stuff in Vietnam. The soundtrack is perfect for that era that they put together. So it just like pushes a bunch of really good buttons. But all of the Black Ops campaigns have been better than all of the other Call of Duty campaigns. Which I think the farther on you get, sort of the lower that bar gets, which is sad because they really focus more towards the multiplayer portion of the game, mm-hmm. which to me has never been the attractive part of Call of Duty. But again, I'm in the minority on that one, so fuck me, right?
Yeah, speaking of the minority.
Yeah, the number 1 game, Red Dead Redemption 2.
No, you're going to have to say that a little louder. You kind of mumbled it.
The number 1 game, Red Dead fucking Redemption bullshit 2.
Ooh, somebody's got the angry pants on. I like it.
I just don't like this game. I've talked about it every time I talk about it. It just is such a waste of time, and there's so much stupid shit in it. And they treated the people who made the game so poorly. I just don't get it. I don't get it. And I'm in a super minority on that one. And I'm not saying what I'm saying to be hyperbolic or stir up some shit. I genuinely despise and loathe this game. And I didn't talk about the spoiler thing that makes it even worse that I found out about in the game. But there's that thing, and if you've played it or if you know what I'm talking about, you know why that would make me even more mad, because it wastes even more of your time. I just don't like it. I don't like it. No, sir, not one bit. I shan't be playing it if and when it comes to PC. Just gonna leave that one unpurchased.
That's sort of like me with the latest few Bethesda games.
Yeah. Even if someone gave it to me, I wouldn't play it.
Oof.
I'd let my idler run it if it was on Steam, and then that would be it.
And then you wouldn't even sell the cards, right? So they wouldn't get that money.
I'd somehow find a way to burn the cards on Steam.
Well, there are bots that basically just collect trash.
Well, then I'll send them to those bots. Have this trash. So yeah, that's the top 20 selling games.
Yeah, we successfully padded the show a little bit.
We did indeed.
I need to get up and stretch for a moment, though. So
sure.
This seems like a good time for the elevator.
We can take a quick break. Indeed, Facebook knowingly duped game-playing kids and their parents out of money.
Yeah, this is a long article and story, actually, because this is coming out of papers that were unsealed due to a class action lawsuit.
Yep.
And who guessed it? Facebook is evil. Huh?
Oh no, who knew? All of us. I think we all knew.
Sorry, I keep hearing Discord going off in the background and it's distracting me.
No worries, my friend. So, going all the way back to at least 2011, Facebook has had a strategy that they have dubbed friendly fraud.
The fact that term exists, I mean, that's up there with like fake news and the truth is not the truth, you know?
Yeah. But they have done this in an effort, and I'm just going to quote the article, in an effort to maximize revenue according to a document detailing the company's game strategy. In essence, they were saving people's credit card information without telling them, and not requiring any sort of password or PIN or anything to purchase items in games. So kids, you know, not knowing, and parents not realizing, even parents who I think would, you know, normally have an interest in this thing, like during this time, the early 2010s, for the first, I don't know, maybe up to 2013 or 2014. I mean, the internet wasn't exactly a Wild West anymore, but a lot of this stuff was new. New to, I would say, more mainstream people. I mean, you know, Flash games and the like and things like that had always existed online. But, you know, older parents who didn't have as much experience would have no idea. It's like, oh, hey, this Facebook thing has got games on it my kids can play. That's neat. And they just wouldn't realize. And kids being kids, either not knowing, not realizing,
well, some of these games were designed not to make it apparent that it was real money. That's the other thing.
Yeah, that's also
in these
part
papers,
of it.
that they would deliberately hide it, which is just scummy as hell.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I mean, God, Facebook. Fuck Facebook. I haven't really participated or cared about Facebook in many years. The only reason I have one, I'm pretty sure I've said this on the show before, is just so that whenever my family's like, hey, check out these pictures of, you know, X or Y thing, they're on Facebook. I'll log on to Facebook and I'll go look. And that's about it. Occasionally I'll have a chat with somebody that, you know, reconnect with someone, an old friend or
that's
whatever,
been
via
pretty
Facebook.
much the only reason why I've been on Facebook lately is that I had like a cascade of people finding me through friend of a friend. So I've talked to some people that I haven't talked to since I was in high school. You know, back when the dinosaurs roamed the earth.
Yeah. But I mean, generally I avoid Facebook because of stuff like this, and also other reasons, like I don't give a shit about, you know, seeing everyone's racist, sexist, hard right beliefs, which is what most of my Facebook winds up being filled up with because I live in the South, and I talked about it more than once.
In the South, and there's some people that I really respected, and I saw their Facebook feed. Like, there's people talking about how Trump is saving America because he's putting the Bible back in school. I'm just thinking, oh, really? So I try to avoid it. I just try to get on there for the messenger because there's some people that insist on using that exclusively for some reason.
Yeah. But, so, I mean, this has been going on for a long time. There have been a few lawsuits throughout the years. The article goes into a couple of them where, really huge amounts or, circumstances would come up, like, a parent would realize what was going on and they'd sue Facebook. But that's been kept under wraps for a long time. The legal proceedings aren't required to be public until it became a class action lawsuit more recently, due to the massive amount of chargebacks that they were having. It says somewhere in this article, somewhere around 0.5%, so 0.5% of purchases are refunded via chargebacks to be considered normal. 1% is a little high, and credit card companies, the big ones like Visa, MasterCard, will warn businesses like, hey, this is a little high, you should probably watch that. And if it consistently goes over that, they will hit them with penalties and things. Facebook's was averaging around 9%.
Which is just absurd.
Yeah. So they're well within the area to be looked at for fraud or fraudulent business practices.
Gee, I wonder if they found anything.
Yeah, I wonder. So, I mean, Facebook's a mess, and it's even a worse mess now. The thing that gets me is just deliberately targeting children. Like, fuck you guys. A lot of things, that come up in the gaming industry and other industries are all like, oh, we have to save the children. And that sort of rhetoric, oftentimes I find to be disingenuous. Mm-hmm. But a company actively targeting children, just fuck you, right?
Yeah.
Just fuck them.
Well, I don't know. Seeing Zuckerberg, it's he has about the emotion of data.
The way I feel about this is it's like getting real close between him and Ajit Pai, who I want to punch more. Like, if given the opportunity, which one of them would I punch? It's pretty close.
Yeah, it's just seeing some of the things that he's said in his hearings
in front of the Supreme Court.
It's just
or Congress or the whoever.
Oh, it just
yeah.
And the fact that they had to give him a booster seat as well was hilarious, though.
He's a small man.
Yeah, and he's also short.
And an asshole.
Yeah, don't forget that one.
So I don't really know how much more there is to really discuss. Just like we were bringing this up, and we're like, man, this is a big deal. Mm-hmm. But it's sort of in this stage where it's like, obviously, everything about this is shitty, and he's shitty, and there's no really like devil's advocate to play.
Yeah, the fact that they went in and tried to fix it, and they actively fought the fix because it was cutting into revenue too much. Here's the thing, is that if fixing it so children don't accidentally spend their parents' money, and you're getting a 9% chargeback rate, and it was such a negative impact that you we're fighting it. There's something wrong with how you do business. Especially considering Facebook is like the ultimate data center to sell personal data or metadata to advertising companies. I mean, just think about that. They have the perfect storm of information to sell metadata to every advertiser on the planet outside of maybe Google, all right? And they had to rely on their game sales. Or their fraud, what was it, friendly fraud?
Yes, friendly fraud.
I mean, what the utter fuck, right? When they're talking about, kids that are 15. I mean, this isn't like a preschooler or, a elementary student that, got a hold of their parents' iPad or something and, racked up some cash. There was one 15-year-old racked up $6,500 in charges in 2 weeks playing games on Facebook. The company denied requests for refunds. Facebook employees referred to these children as whales, a term borrowed from the casino industry to describe spenders. A child could spend hundreds of dollars a day in games features such as arming their character with flaming swords or a new magic spell to defeat the enemy, even if they didn't realize it until the credit card bill had arrived. What the utter fuck, right?
Yeah. My kid
and there's a big thing here talking about, well, he looks underage. Well, maybe not 13. That's the thing here is that what's the user's total lifetime spend? And they give the number. They're disputing all of it, I believe. That user looks underage as well. Maybe not under 13. Is the user writing in a parent, or is this user a 13-year-old? It's a 13-ish-year-old. Well, it says it's 15. Looks a bit younger. She, not it's, laughs out loud. I mean, just, oh. So Zuckerberg is winning over Agit Pie now?
It's close. It's close. My kid bought something accidentally the other day. Not on Facebook, but on one of the games that he plays on my phone. Mm-hmm. We sat down and we talked about it. I mean, he wasn't in trouble or anything.
But I was did you get a refund or?
No, I let him keep it. It was a train game on my phone that he plays all the time. And he bought like a... Did he buy the steam trains or the diesel? It's just like a reskin for the trains. Mm-hmm. And he was like, "Oh, I want to get this, Daddy." I'm like, "Get what?" And then it was like he already had it, and I was like, I could have swore I had the password thing set up on my phone. So part of that's on me, but also let's talk about what these menus are, buddy. I've tried to explain this to you before, but you're older now, so I sat down and I talked him through what everything was. And I was like, if you find yourself here and Daddy's not sitting in the room or Mommy's not, come find us and we can help you get back to where the game is. And I was like, I'll let you keep your thing. Part of that's on me. So I went in and I made sure that, like, for every purchase, I have to enter my password. But I had set it where that I only have to enter it every so often. Mm-hmm. So I must have recently bought something and then it was still, like, saved. But yeah. So I had that experience with my kid for the first time. But he didn't rack up $6,500 on my credit card or PayPal or anything.
I mean, damn. Right?
Yeah. I would have definitely done a chargeback on that. But no, if it was like $2.99 or $1.99 or something, I was like, okay, this is a lesson learned for both of us. I need to make sure that password stuff is set up for sure, and you're old enough for me to start teaching you about these things now. Teachable moment. Anyways, fuck Facebook.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, Facebook was essentially what loot boxes are now. Just screwing people over out of their money.
Indeed. Moving on to near the last part of the show. We're going to have a community corner this week. We had Jim send in a short email with a link to a rather lengthy YouTube video, which we'll make sure to put the link to the YouTube video in the show notes. Yeah. Pull the email up here. The email says, excuse me, says this is a really interesting video on the Quake 2 mod that added ray tracing. It's especially interesting because they show the raw ray trace view, Hall of Mirrors mode, and talk about the processing needed to apply it to the image. It also talks about the limitations of what parts of the rendering are more or less computationally intensive.
I will admit that I only got through about half of it, and a lot of this is over my head because I'm not a graphics guy. Remember, for me, gameplay is king. So a fair amount of this is, I understand a bit of it. I understand enough to get myself into trouble. But I will say that some of the lighting effects in this was just fucking amazing. The one shot where they were talking about the ship flying over and having the proper shadow. You just don't see that level of detail in games.
Yeah, so, even modern games lots of times don't have that.
I mean, it's just a very diffused, very light shadow effect that moved across. But the fact that it's there, and I would say shadows are probably the roughest part of games right now. I think that's a fair thing to say.
Shadows or maybe water reflection. But I mean, shadows are up there.
It depends also on the game, but usually shadows are either the roughest or the least thought of. But shadows are also what really makes a scene pop. If you've ever watched a painter painting, especially like Bob Ross, and him talking about light and shadow, it does show why this is so important. That it draws objects out of the background or pushes objects into the background, depending on how you play with it. So, it is an important part of gaming and an important part of graphics. And it requires a lot of powerful hardware to be able to do in real time, and it's not quite there yet. It does seem like it's getting a lot closer, though.
Yeah. I mean, so, what is it? What do they call it? Active ray tracing or no, real-time ray tracing. With the RTX cards from NVIDIA is I think the first step. It's kind of in that gimmicky stage for gaming at this point. Mm-hmm. But the fact that it's on a consumer level graphics card, whereas previously to do this for things like animated films and shorts and whatnot, you could do it, but you're looking at an order of like an hour per frame, for some of these things, like for Pixar and whenever they do that, because I've seen them talk about some of that stuff and like the extras and things on DVDs when people had those. So the fact that it's able to be done to some extent in real time with a consumer level graphics card is a huge step forward, but it's still in that brand new gimmicky phase. But I think we'll see this in the next 5 to 10 years become something that is what will separate the next generation of graphics cards from what we've got today. And the same way we think about, the old 2D versus 3D accelerator cards from the 90s, and even into the early 2000s. And watching the video, so I watched it as well, like right before we started recording, and I'm not sure if I understood it any better than you did. The gist, I think, of what they were getting at was that, originally all of these computations and everything were ran separately and then saved as sort of like a shadow map. A texture, a shadow map to be, overlaid over the level where you were playing. Whereas now it's being done much closer to real time, if not entirely in real time. And the difference that it makes in terms of dynamic lighting and things like that. And being able to apply that to even a game, as old as Quake 2 is at this point, and how big of a difference it can make when you compare the two side by side. And I think that's really really fascinating, really interesting, and I love to see what they're going to do with this tech in the next few years as computational power continues to increase, or become, cheaper so that people can, effectively get more of it,
or it becomes more efficient,
or some combination of those. But I'm definitely gonna watch it again when I have more time, because we were sort of setting up the show and we were watching it and listening to it and having a little back and forth.
Also I want to sit down. Also, the big limiting factor right now is just the number of bounces, because that's one thing they were talking about, that some areas that would naturally be illuminated just by ambient light, bouncing off of a couple walls, for example, going down a hallway. In this mod, it would be pitch black, because right now, whenever a ray of light is sent out from a light source, it bounces once and then that's it. But in the real world, because outside of very limited situations, everything reflects light. So light is thrown around and it splashes around, and it creates extra illumination sources. Not as strong as the original, of course, but it's something that they're still trying to work on.
Right.
So that's the big limiting factor right now. That, and the fact that they were talking about how whenever something is gibbed, it has a little bit of a ghost because of how they were handling the ray tracing, because part of it was the previous frame to cut back on the amount of processing needed. So it would cause things to have a little bit of a ghost following them, or if something was moving too fast for that to be an effective use, it would not be able to keep up. So there is limits still, and there's things to fix, but it was very impressive looking.
Yes, it was. I'm gonna go back and watch the video later. I don't know, tomorrow maybe, or no, Thursday, while I'm waiting in the doctor's office. Have my first follow-up. So I'll be there a while, probably. Sit there and watch it on the YouTubes. But yeah, I want to go back and watch it again. Partly, I've seen it, once, so I'll be able to pay better attention to certain things. And also partly just to give it much more of my attention, because I do find stuff like this fascinating. And I would have never discovered this on my own, I don't think. So thank you very much, Jim, for sending us something interesting to go through.
Yes, and if you wish to send us other things that are interesting, you do so, VGLpodcast@gmail.com, or send them to us on our Twitter, VGLpodcast. Well, at VGLpodcast, I should say.
There you go. All right.
And since we're coming up kind of short, doobly-doo?
Indeed. Doobly-doo for
and
that there
I had my Discovery queue open already.
Yeah, I don't even have Steam open. I need to...
I was cheating. What can I say?
You always do. That's fine.
But I have Generation 0. This is open world survival. Which, but the thing is that this is being developed by Avalanche Studios, the developers behind the Just Cause series. So, interesting.
Isn't that the survival game that has mechs?
Yeah, it's the survival game that has mechs.
I've seen it on Keymailer. I haven't seen it on Steam.
Well, I just got it on my Discovery queue. It has mechs, and it looks like it's co-op focused instead of pure multiplayer focused, sort of like Rust. It's rather impressive looking graphically. But, yeah. Mech survival. Hey, at least it's not zombies, right?
Mechs feel like they're making a big comeback. I'm seeing them in all kinds of stuff the last year or two.
You got yours open yet?
Yeah.
Anything good?
I don't have anything to... Nope. So far, not.
Oh, I got Far Cry New Dawn.
Nice.
So, yeah, I don't know. I'm starting off strong, I guess. That's my first two. So this is a spin-off, isn't it? Technically. This isn't a new mainstay.
Yeah, it's
very pink.
I mean, it's after the canon ending of Far Cry 5.
So this
spoilers for the end of Far Cry 5 if you care.
Not really.
There's a nuke that goes off, which, wipes out the area. And this takes place fairly recently after that, if I'm remembering correctly. And you're just trying to survive in the area where the blast went off.
But yeah, it's very, very colorful. They went with the Borderlands style post-apocalypse,
Yeah.
I mean, just all the screenshots are pink. No, I'm not joking. Everything is pink.
I like pink. I've got one finally. Let me scroll over here to paste it. Volcanoids. The description for this game says Volcanoids is a first person.
I just added that to my wish list. I was about to say
Volcanoids is a first person base building survival game set in a steampunk era where humans and technology meet. I mean, I'm in. Right? Yeah. I'm in. Giant steampunk drill thing where you mine and
I've actually seen that developer
stuff
on Reddit showing progression of the drill base. It's slowly evolving as he's worked on the game before release. When I saw this on the front page, I immediately went and wishlisted it because it's looked interesting for quite a while to me. But finally it's out into some degree. I got a tycoon style game or a sim game, Boxing School. No idea if this is any good. It's not rated particularly highly, but it's also a pretty niche title to begin with. Boxing School: take control of a boxing gym in the 80s. You'll hire the boxers, teach them to fight, climb the ranks. New management game made by the developers of Gladiator School. I don't know Gladiator School, but it sounds like it may be repetitive. But it's a style of management game, right?
Yeah,
it's interesting at least.
Okay. Latte Stand Tycoon. Let me give you a link.
Well, pretty much all my discovery queue is like, okay, here's another at least interesting looking one.
So Latte Stand Tycoon. Come join Maya and Maya. Okay. As they attempt to restore an old family home and assimilate into the town of Falling Leaves, as you learn to mix the perfect latte to fit the ever-changing weather. Can you become a master barista and change the mood of an ever-gloomy town? This doesn't look great.
How about one that actually does look good? Well,
sure.
Catherine Classic.
Oh, Catherine. Okay.
Yeah, I got that on my discovery queue.
What makes it Catherine Classic?
This is the original version. They are doing a remaster, and it's coming out on PC as well. So maybe better to hold off on this, but this was a PlayStation 3 game, right?
Was it PS3 or was it PS Vita?
I'm pretty sure it was a console, not a handheld. Anyway, I don't know a lot about the story because I didn't really pay attention to it because it was console exclusive at the time, but yeah, it's weird. But the fact that we're seeing more Atlas games coming out on Steam makes me wonder if we're going to be seeing, some of the more mainstay stuff, the Persona games, for example.
It was originally released on PS3 and PS Vita.
Oh, so we were both right.
And it was ported to Xbox 360 and Microsoft Windows. Then you can get it on PS4 via whatever their store is. That has older PlayStation games.
But yeah, I mean, it's a visual novel / puzzle game, right?
Yeah.
And very weird. I mean, JRPG essentially. You get another one? I'm only halfway through my queue.
So far, no go. So if you got another one, just keep on going.
I'm trying to figure out what this is. I mean, it looks interesting. What the hell? We'll put it on here anyway. Looks like it's an episodic game or part one of a game. I guess I know who's going to have the most games this time around. Bright Memory Episode 1.
Episode 1.
I'm not sure about this. A hack and slash adventure game. I mean, it has some fairly impressive graphics for being an indie game, right?
It does indeed.
Yeah, it looks like this almost feels like the Shadow Warrior game with the melee combat, where they have the ability to throw out energy projectiles from a sword. I'm not sure if that's a sword, though. But first-person hack and slash shooter with some RPG elements. I'm just looking at the trailer, not listening to it, though. Now, the question is that whole episode 1, is this going to be part 1 of a series? Is this, just what they're calling it for now, or what? But interesting, right? And this is why we have the Discovery Queue, to find interesting things. To find neat, random junk.
That's the best kind of junk, the neat, random kind.
And sheesh. It's my Discovery Queue is basically like a cavalcade of actually decent things.
I don't have shit. I'm on my 3rd Discovery Queue just looking for something
Pick a
else.
new
I keep
queue.
getting...
This was actually a giveaway on Twitch Prime before it came out. Newest Devolver Digital game. And I haven't played it yet. An absurdly wonderful puzzle exploration game that takes place in a strange but playful world where not everything is as happy as it seems. Help peculiar characters overcome struggles, uncover a deep state conspiracy, and start a fun little revolution in this delightful dystopian adventure. So,
well, that does sound delightful.
I mean, it's a Devolver Digital, so you know it's going to be fucked up, right?
Yeah. Just want to start a fun little revolution.
Well, first one that actually looks kind of shit, so.
All right, when I wrap this one up, I'm not going to start anymore.
Uh-oh.
I just have gotten, this has been like a Steam Direct trash pile of just pointless garbage.
Speaking of pointless garbage, Seigen Kagura Burst Renewal. Looks like they're ditching the whole, crappy third-person shooter and going back to the brawler, which is a little bit ironic. Brawler. But yeah, Seigen Kagura is actually a decent third-person hack and slash brawler. It's just, it has the anime boobies on it as well, which kind of turns some people off. It's just I haven't spent enough time with them to really get to enjoy them. But Peach Beach Splash just sucked. It looks like they're actually throwing in a lot of free DLC this time around. But they already have the paid DLC, $40, and then another $22 for. These are actually campaigns; they're not cosmetics this time around. That's the other thing, is that before they were always just cosmetics, but it's something different. Anyway, I got 3 more to go. That's trash. Oh, another good one. I'm serious. This has been 1 queue, by the way. Breach. This is a third-person ARPG. I had a beta code for this, but I didn't get a chance to play it. It's mixed reviews right now, but it doesn't have many people reviewing it. So, yeah, there were some people talking about balance issues, I believe.
Oh, hey, I got Breach. That was my last one on queue number 4.
Well, sorry.
Nah, it's fine.
Do you want Breach?
Nah, it's fine.
All right.
I got Volcanoids.
But there was some people talking about possible balance issues, and that it had some rough frame rates, but it's also early access. And also that it's a bit pricey for what it is, at least in the time being. It's a $25 game, and it doesn't have a lot of content there. And my last one... Hang on. I'm looking at this. That is... interesting. What the hell? I don't have enough games on my list this time around. I need to add more to add to my to the show notes. Odd Realm. Odd Realm is a simulation game set in a procedurally generated fantasy world where you foster a group of settlers to help them build, explore, and survive. Probably. Interesting art style on this. It's full on top down. At first, I was thinking this was a different game just because of the way that they are showing the different Z levels. Showing the hillsides.
Yeah.
And I'm blanking on the name again, but it's the one where you build bases and fight the goo incoming. It's essentially
build bases.
It was essentially a precursor to the tower defense genre on Congregate. But yeah, this looks like it's actually somewhat decently featured out right now. Why is this game relevant to you? Well, you have RimWorld with several hundred hours played. Gee, I wonder why, right? And that's just what the game, or what Steam is able to see, because whenever I record RimWorld, I have Steam turned off. Looks like there's also some story elements to this. So there's some sort of choice system going on here. That's interesting. Yeah, depending on how well featured this is, and also development, of course. Let's see how long is this going to. Approximately how long is this going to be in early access? 6 to 12 months. That's not a long development cycle. And this is pretty far along, but I somehow doubt it's that far along. But yeah, interesting. It looks like there's some sort of perk system under everything as well, based on the hierarchy here. So yeah, Odd Realm, one to look out for if you're into the base builders, and that is the end of my queue. I found a couple games.
Yeah, not my week for Discovery queue, I guess, because I had
9 out of 12.
I had 4 queues. I got 2 games.
Would have had 3 if I didn't grab one. 9 out of 12. That is absurd. That's the biggest I've gotten. I mean, damn, right?
Yeah, that's a good ratio. I mean, that's 3/4. Mm-hmm.
Hey, it's a passing grade.
Woohoo! You got a D.
I'm winning.
You did it. D for did it. All right. Well, then with Discovery Queue over, move on to the portion of the podcast where I go first. If you want to find my stuff, you can do so by searching for Gaming Psychologist on the YouTubes. If you want to follow me on Twitter, where you can see me tweet about all kinds of things. Recently, I've made a couple of tweets asking questions about tech stuff, if anybody in our audience is aware. And if you want to contribute to that discussion, I asked if anybody had any personal experience with M.2 NVMe SSDs, and whether or not they made a practical difference in day-to-day computing and gaming versus just sticking to regular old SSD plugged in via SATA. So, anyone with practical experience, if you want to contribute to that, send me a tweet, or respond to the tweet that I posted.
Tweet.
Tweet. And also, if you want to be friends with me on Steam, you can send a friend request to jarthur4707. I accept all friend requests and like to chat with people. Just a friendly reminder, if it's going to be something for the show, I will probably ask you now to send it to our email, the show email. But if you just want to chat, ask me some questions about games or personal questions or whatever, things you maybe don't feel comfortable talking about on Discord, you can do so there.
And if you wish to let them know exactly what episode of the podcast you're coming from, the password for this week, and I'm going to butcher it horribly, is Backfablich, which is a German word for wanting to punch someone or slap them in the face. I'm not joking.
No, I believe you.
The German language is just amazing. And
yes.
Here, I want you to see just the spelling on this. See, there, I put it on Discord for you. There's way too many consonants in that.
I don't know how to say that.
I've been sitting here listening to audio files of this. Bike 5 ceased. That's probably the closest I'm going to get. And that's immediately after listening to an audio file of it. So I do apologize to anybody that speaks German. But it was too perfect, you know? And I knew the German language had something like that. Because the German language is like Lego. You can just put words together. So, getting to my stuff. YouTube is coming back online. I basically just missed getting a video out today. So I decided to just wait till Friday and restart there. Twitter is slowly getting some content on it, but it's also going to be suffering a severe drought of content because YouTube is doing something fucking stupid this week. Or do you know about this?
Where they're not doing the automatic posts to Twitter and...
Yeah, it stops tomorrow. Because we're after midnight now.
Yep.
Fucking stupid, right? But they said, well, if you want to share it on Twitter, you just go to the video and share it.
Yeah, because it was so hard to check the box.
Or better yet...
It did it for me.
Be able to write the tweet while you're uploading, right?
Yeah.
It's just... YouTube is stupid. But I guess that's just the excuse for me to... just tweet random nonsense like I did today, trying to counter the, EA just sitting on the Star Wars license and doing absolutely nothing with it. Spaceballs games. We need Spaceballs games.
I can handle that.
Besides, there's not that many truly humorous games. There's games that use humor, but usually there's not many games that try to be comedies. Whenever you sit down and really think about it, huh?
Yeah.
So, sci-fi humor. Let's go for it. But I am going to be trying to get Twitch up and running sometime in February. So if you wish to beat the rush, because there definitely is going to be such a rush of me streaming again, you can so twitch.tv/caffeine_rage. I'm pretty sure there's an underscore there. Or if not, just take out the underscore. I can't remember. I'm not going to bother checking right now. Or you just ask me on Steam directly. Caffeine Rage over there as well. It seems like I have a theme going or something. And I'll give you all the links you want. Or if you really want to, I could also put you on the Discord. We should probably try to figure out how this spammers got in. And I should also probably get that bot up and running for moderation so I could turn off the 5-minute cooldown whenever somebody joins. Damn spammers, right? I'd just love to know how they found us.
Damn spammers. Facebook, probably.
Yeah, I blame you. And if you wish to blame him as well, you can do so. VGLpodcast@gmail.com with your letters, voicemails, and gaming-related topics, or just tweet your blame to Jared at VGL Podcast on the Twitter. If you wish to help pay for this absolute madness, you can do so at patreon.com/VGL Podcast, which supports our Podbean account. VGLpodcast.podbean.com, which hosts the RSS feed, the show notes, links to all our stuff. Or you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, or where other good podcasts are. We've kind of snuck in there as well. Our intro and outro music is On the Ground by Kevin McLeod, and our Discovery Key music is Doobly Doo by the same artist. His work can be found at incompetech.com, and...
as always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice. Well, bye now.
See you next time. So whenever you look at Zuckerberg, do you see a person that has a soul, or is it just some sort of just lizard man in a flesh husk?
I see a person that eats souls.
I'm not sure if he ate souls. I mean, you are what you eat. So when he eventually gained some sort of sentience.
Yes. He's just not there yet. He's like a black hole for souls. So that's why he created Facebook, so that he could eat all of the souls of everyone. And his hunger is insatiable.
Yeah, because,
one day he's going to turn out to be Cthulhu.
Lovecraft would look at him and think, that's one creepy motherfucker. I've seen enough. I don't need any more. I don't need to write anymore. You win. Here, just take my soul.
Too bad I don't have a soul.
What, you sold it for a donut?
Yeah. That was the failed donut that melted my pancreas. Wasn't worth it.
Well,
you live and learn.
You have talked about loving all the dicks, so now you get to prick yourself all the time.